Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another Elden Ring build video. Now today I wanted to talk about one of the strongest builds in this entire game, something I'm calling the Fire Paladin. Now this weapon dominated in the base game, and even after a small nerf when the DLC came out, it's back and better than ever. There's actually a few items that came from the DLC that makes this build kind of insane with the amount of damage it puts out. And of course I'm talking about the Blasphemous blade, and its Ash of War Taker's Flame. The Ash of War shoots fire and magma out in a straight line in front of you, but it also heals you when it connects with an enemy. High damage plus free healing is quite the combo. Let's check it out. Now let's start with our stat spread. At rune level 150 I have 60 vigor, 35 mind so we can use our Ash of War multiple times in between blue flasks, 28 endurance, 23 strength, 15 dex, and 70 faith. Since our Ash of War's damage primarily comes from the faith scaling and not from strength or dex, we want our faith as high as possible. Next, let's talk about our Wondrous physic, because this one has two new DLC options. First off, we want to always run the Fire Shrouded tier. This increases our fire-based damage by 20% with no downside whatsoever. This one always stays on. And we have two other tiers to choose from for the second option. My first choice is the Blood-Sucking tier, which increases our damage by another 20% at the cost of 1 HP loss per second. Now I know that second part about losing life is going to lose some people, but remember, the Blasphemous blade is going to heal you every time you hit with it, so it really is a good combo in this build. But if you don't want to use that tier, there's actually a second choice and there's nothing wrong with that. I'd recommend swapping that out for the oil-soaked tier. Now this one requires you to be close enough to an enemy that they get soaked in oil, and then take 20% more fire damage. It's not a bad trade-off, but you do have to get close and proc oil, which can slow you down a bit. For our talismans, there are three really good high damage options. Most noticeably the new Talisman of the Dread, which raises magma fire damage by 14%. And yes, this is increasing our Taker's Flame Ash of War damage, which is why we want to use this. Noticeably, since we're investing 70 points in faith, I'll put on the screen right now all the incantations that get buffed with this talisman equipped, if you want to mix things up with some spells here and there. The magma spells might not have the highest damage in the game, but they're not bad and they kind of fit in with this build. For our second slot, we want the Shard of Alexander to boost our Ash of War by another 15%, as well as the Fire Scorpion Charm to boost all of our fire-based damage by an additional 12%, and this one comes with the drawback of taking 10% more physical damage as well, but it's worth the risk. For our last slot, normally we would run the Ritual Sword Talisman, but because we're running the Blood-Sucking Cracked here, this is a no-go. You'll never be at max HP for more than a single second. Now some people are messing around with getting poison from the perfume bottle or the new poison hand weapon, you know, etc. so they can use the Rot Talisman. But honestly, I think that's just overkill. Especially with how soon some of our buffs run out, I wouldn't recommend that personally. Another staple that people use to run with this build is the Carian Filigree Crest, which reduces your Ash of War and mana cost by 25%. But with this build sitting at 200 mana, that only equates to 2 more casts of Taker's Flame for an entire talisman slot. So again, not worth it. Honestly, I think just a defense talisman like the Dragon Shield Crest is fine. We can take back some damage negation we're losing with the armor set bonus as well as the Fire Scorpion Charm. And speaking of our armor set, we want the Rakasha armor. This increases our damage by another 8% at the cost of us taking 8% more damage. That's 2% per slot. Now here's the thing, that 8% increased damage we take is calculated on the armor set itself, meaning it doesn't just tack on 8% more damage at the end. Think of it as being more in line with the armor set protecting with light armor, damage negation instead of medium armor. If you're going to use some fire spells with this build, the Winged Serpent Helm actually gives 10% increased damage with the new Mesmer incantations, even though only like one of them is worth using. I personally have Golden Vow, Flame Grant Me Strength, and Scarlet Aeonia on my spell wheel. If you want a projectile spell, I would recommend either Catch Flame or my favorite spell of all time, the Black Flame. So there you have it, everything you need for this Fire Paladin build. Whether you want to play this game on easy mode, feel like dropping a nuke on every boss, or just speedrunning all remembrances, this build should take you through the DLC and back. And hey, my friends and I are about to start a 3-player co-op run of this DLC, new weapons only. Subscribe if you want to check that run out, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.